Hello friends and welcome to my Phase 5 guide on Top Ultimate. In this guide we'll go over all the mechanics and how they work and then proceed to break them down. Without any further delay, let's just begin. The phase will begin with Omega M becoming targetable. Pop your 1 minute offensive cooldowns here, but hold on to your 2 minutes. Shortly after, he will cast Solar Ray, a heavy hitting magical tank buster that hits the tank twice, with the first hit giving a magic vulnerability. This requires a tank swap with heavy mitigation or a tank invulnerability. There are 4 of these in total, and you'll want to place a tank invulnerability between each set of tank busters. My group used an invuln on the first, tank swap to the second, invuln to the third, and then tank swap to the fourth, but this is because we had a paladin and hallowed ground. Omega M will then cast Run Delta Version, a heavy hitting raid wide requiring party mitigation. Shortly after this, Omega M will become untargetable, and a bunch of things are now happening. Firstly, Final and Beetle Omega will spawn opposite of each other, and the Eye from Phase 2 acting the same way will also spawn. We'll use these 3 things to help with orientation, with the Eye being the new north. Each player will be tethered together with patches from Phase 3's Hello World, 2 blue tethers and 2 green tethers. These work the same as Phase 3's, with green tethers breaking when too close and blues breaking when too far. 1 player from each blue tether will also have a close and far world debuff, close being a green debuff and far being a blue debuff. We'll talk about what these do later, but just keep a mental note of these for now. A few moments after the tether spawn, fists will also spawn on each player. 2 blue fists on each pair and 2 yellow fists on each pair. These must be stacked together with the opposite color fists. If the same color stacks or they miss stacking, they will explode and wipe the raid. Just before the tethers become active, 6 spinning arms will spawn. These will target the closest players and must be baited outside of the arena according to their arrows. Before the bait, the Eye will also do a straight line AoE throughout the middle of the arena, and in its place, Omega M will spawn in the center of the arena and will cast Beyond Defense on one of the 2 closest players, and then Pile Pitch on one of the 2 closest players. Again, this works just like with the Phase 2's Beyond Defense and Pile Pitch. Additionally, Final Omega will be casting monitors, and one of the blue tether players will also have a monitor. This works the same as Phase 3 monitors, except only 1 player has them, so it's only 4 hits. After all that, Beetle Omega will then cast Swivel Cannon. This will cleave one side of the arena and then some, and as soon as Swivel Cannon goes off, the far and close world debuffs will expire, exploding around the player in a large AoE, and if anyone else is caught by the AoE, this will kill both players and then proceed to wipe the raid. Far World will bounce twice, first to the furthest player and then to the next furthest player from the first bounced player. Close World is similar but bounces to the first closest player and then to the next closest player from the first bounced player. Both of these are much smaller than the original Far and Close World AoEs, but they still leave a small AoE. Every time you get hit by a Far or Close World effect, you'll be granted a stack of Dynamis. Each player will need 3 stacks of Dynamis going into Phase 6, but you won't get all 3 stacks until further into the phase. Alright, well, that was a lot, so let's dissect exactly how my group handled this mechanic, and we'll go back to the very beginning of the mechanic and start with the blue tethers. To solve blue tethers, my group had the 2 blue tethers head towards Final Omega. 1 pair would stretch their tether and 1 pair would be close to each other. The reason for this is because we want to pop the blue tethers as soon as we can, with the stretch pair automatically popping their tether as soon as the tether becomes active, and then run to one of the middle players on their side to stack their fists. The stretching pair can pop sprint as soon as the tether becomes active and pops to get to their stacking partner faster. This will also create less room for error, and you won't need to sprint for anything else as this player. The pair in the middle would adjust positions with each other if needed, i.e. both fists are the same color on one side. All they have to do here is just swap positions with their middle partner. While waiting, the pair in the middle should look north and south, whatever cardinal they're closest to, and set their sight on the spinning arms there, as they will be baiting it. As soon as the fists are stacked, the Eye will go off, and the middle pair should sprint their arm and bait it. This will also break their blue tethers, while the pair that broke their blue tether first will run to the middle of the arena and bait Omega M's Beyond Defense on either side of him so they don't clip each other. If you take the hit from Beyond Defense, you cannot stack, so head towards either Final or Beetle Omega and make sure to not be hit by anything else. Then look at Final Omega and see which side he is casting monitors on, and take the stack on the safe side, but still within the middle of the arena. The 2 blue tethers who baited north and south will come back to the center to stack as well. As the monitor player, make sure you're further out than the rest of the stack, so you are only hitting 2 green tethered players players and nobody else. The monitor can target you even if you are the one hit by Beyond Defense, so you'll still need to run to beat all or final, but just make sure to be a little further out, but not too close to green tethered player as to not get hit by a monitor. As for the green tether players, have one pair north by the eye and one pair south. The two stacking locations will be northwest and southeast. The pair by the eye will adjust and swap positions if their stacking partner has the same color as them. The stacking partner is the player directly opposite of them, so as a north player we simply look at the player south from us. Green tethers will be taking the 4 other spinning arm baits on the intercardinals. Once stacked, wait until the fist AoEs appear and then run to your intercardinal to bait your arm. If you didn't swap, your original location will always be your designated arm to bait. A good rule and a thing to keep in mind is these tethers will never cross each other and you'll never go to bait an arm on the other side of the eye. You only need to think about the 2 arms on your side and it should be intuitive on which one to bait. Once baited, move out of the AoE and then slightly back into them once it's safe. This is just a little thing you can do to make a bit more room on the arena in case the player who got hit by Beyond Defense needs some room by you. At this point, as a green tether player, you'll kind of just stand around. You'll be hit by either Final Omega's monitors or blue player's monitors. At this point, everyone should look at Beetle Omega and see which side he is cleaving. You can tell which side he's cleaving indicated by the multiple blue orb-like effects on his left or right. This tells you which side will be cleaved, so run to the side without the effects. The green tether pair already on the safe side will remain and just keep their tethers stretched to the very top of Omega and opposite of him. This movement is quite intuitive as they'll already be in the right spot, they'll just need some micro adjustments. Meanwhile, the green pair that needs to move will watch the Twice Come Ruin debuff, and as soon as it expires, pop their tether and line up to the edge of the cleave by Beetle Omega. Meanwhile, the 2 blue players with no debuff will line up opposite of the Beetle. Far World will go to the edge of the arena opposite of Beetle, and Close World will go to the edge of the arena closer to Beetle. The exact positions will be shown with gameplay and graphics. These positions will solve the far and close world debuff, with the current green tethers baiting both far worlds and the previous green tethers baiting the close worlds. This will result in a total of 6 Dynamis stacks amongst the party, with the 2 blue tethered and non-debuff players not having any stacks. After this, Omega M will become targetable again. The current green tether players need to watch their tether debuff and pop it at about 2 to 3 seconds left. Any sooner and it might kill some players, any later and it might expire and wipe the raid. So make sure to pop this when it hits 2 to 3 seconds. This is the magic number where no one will have magic vulnerabilities. At this point, you'll want to pop your 2 minutes and pots. During this point, Omega will cast another Solar Ray and shortly after begin to cast Run Sigma version. This is yet again a heavy hitting raid wide, and Omega will become untargetable yet again, and give 2 players far and close world, which we're not going to have to worry about again until some time. PlayStation markers will return from phase 2 along with mid or far glitch, and 2 arms will spawn and tether to the furthest players. Opposite of the arms, Omega M will spawn and will use him as the new North. Then Final Omega will spawn in the middle of the arena, and he'll mark 6 out of 8 players with orange markers. We'll call these markers prey. The 2 players who do not get a prey marker will never be paired together and must bait the arms. Final Omega will cleave each prey marker, giving them a short magic vulnerability, and during this, the arms will do a straight line AoE towards the furthest players, who should be the non-prey players. After this, towers will spawn in a set pattern according to mid or far glitch, and always originate either north or south. 5 towers will spawn for far, with a 1 2-player tower north, 1 tower east and 1 tower west, 1 2-player towers southeast, and 1 2-player towers southwest. For mid glitch, 2 towers will spawn north, 1 2-player towers will spawn east, 1 2-player towers will spawn west, and 1 tower will spawn southeast and southwest. Omega F will then do a knockback from the center of the arena, and shortly after, the towers will go off, and if the soaking conditions are not met, the towers will explode and wipe the raid. To solve this mechanic, my group would first line up during the cast of Run Sigma version, just like how we line up in phase 2, and swapping positions if necessary, although this isn't as important as you can adjust on the fly. Then head towards Omega M and line up in a formation. My group did triangles first, circles second, X's third, and squares fourth. We then need to spread out in cardinals and intercardinals of Final Omega, and the non-prey players need to bait the arms. To do this, the first 2 players with preys who are paired together closest to Omega will go north and south. The player to the left will remain north, while the player to the right will go south. The next 2 players with preys who are paired together will go east and west, with the left player going west and the right player going east. The first pair closest to Omega who have a non-prey will go northwest and southeast, with the non-prey going northwest and the prey paired with the non-prey going southeast. And then the second non-prey closest to Omega will go northeast and southwest, with the non-prey going northeast and the prey going southwest. This way, the 2 non-preys will always be the ones baiting the arm AoEs, as they'll always be the furthest away. Now we have our positions, we need to pay mind to mid or far glitch. If it's mid glitch, we need to be near the center, but not too close. Our group calls in front of waymarks, but your waymarks might be slightly different to ours, while far glitch is right towards the wall of your cardinal or intercardinal spread position. Once that's solved, towers will appear, which our group uses as the new north. I know there's a lot of new north switching, but for us it worked and helped our brains manage this mechanic a lot easier. We always had the non-prey people take the northern towers. For far glitch, they would both always take the north tower, and for mid glitch, they would take one of the towers according to their spread position. For everyone else, you would either count clockwise or counterclockwise from north and take the tower you end up on. We made this extremely easy by just posting a macro in chat for when it's mid or far glitch. To this day, I still don't remember how much I need to count. I just look at the macro while I'm in my spread position. Then once the towers spawn, I count according to the macro and take that tower. As a note, we count the north towers as zeros, so basically we don't count them. You'll want to use the Omega F knockback to get knocked into your appropriate tower. If it's far glitch, go right up to the wall of your tower and cross the tether, or if it's mid glitch, be in the center of your tower. Once the towers are resolved, two arms will yet again appear, tethering to the furthest two players. Omega F will spawn opposite of the arms and will use either her heels or staff. Just like in phase 2, heels mean inside and staff means outside. Finally, Omega's ring will be in the center of the arena. This will do a straight line AoE, which will rotate according to the arrows. Final Omega's AoE will spin around the arena, and shortly after, Omega F will do her out or in. Once the final Omega's AoE stops spinning, the arms will do their AoE, and close and far world will go off. To solve this, my group would mark 3 players who had a stack of Dynamis and no far or close world. These 3 players would always go towards F. Mark 1 would remain to bait the first arm, Mark 2 would stop in the middle to bait far world, and Mark 3 would keep going a bit more to bait the other arm. Far world would also go with the 3 marked players towards F and place themselves where F spawned, on the 3rd ring of the arena. The 4 remaining players would be opposite of F and dodge Final and Omega F's AoE accordingly. If Omega F does heals, then follow Final's AoE tightly. If she does staff, then wait for her to do her AoE and then follow Final's AoE. One player will remain to bait far world, while close world would follow the AoE tightly and then place themselves to the right or left of Omega F depending on where the dodge takes them. Also on the 3rd ring, just like with the far. While the 2 remaining players will dodge with the close world and go to the edge of the arena to bait the close world bounces. Tanks have priority on being the far world baiters, opposite of F. Make sure to have some communication on which player goes further up and which player remains when baiting close world, or just use your eyeballs and see if the other player is further up than you, then let them take that spot. Leaving this phase, everyone must have a stack of Dynamis, which is why it's important for the 2 players who bait arms already have a stack, as they are the only players during this point who won't get hit by far or close world. After this, Omega will become targetable again and open with a few autos on the main tank. This is why it's important for the tank to take the first far world bait so they don't have a magic vulnerability when she autos. Hold on to your 1 minute here until your 2 minutes are back up. She'll then cast a solar ray and run Sigma version, but unlike previous versions, Omega F will remain on the arena for a short while. Run Sigma will give 2 players far world and 2 players close world, with one set being first in line and the other set being second in line. This dictates which set will go off first and ensure every player can get 3 Dynamis stacks. Final Omega will spawn in the center, and a clone of Omega M and F will also spawn, directly opposite of each other with a random augmentation, either sword or shield on M and either staff or heals on F. You've done phase 2 probably 100 times by now, so you know what these are about. The catch is Final Omega will also do an AoE with his rings, which works exactly like the ones from O12S. The safe spot is by the blade, or others find it by the blue ball effects on his blades. He'll do this twice, the first one being indicated, while the second one will cleave the first safe spot, so you'll need to rotate either clock or counterclockwise. Additionally, another pair of M and F will spawn, so watch out for which augmentation these 2 are doing. The gameplay will show some dodges, and I'll have some graphs for what these AoE patterns look like, but it's really about learning this from doing it, as it's quite simple but tight. Tanker being this is a good tool to learn and still proc this phase if need be. Omega F will then become untargetable, and Final Omega will cast his monitors, and he'll always be facing north, and the first in line, close, and far will soon go off. 2 players must bait the monitors, and these players will need to have 2 Dynamis stacks. If a player has second in line, far, or close world, they must bait a monitor as the highest priority. First in line, far will place themselves north and stand on the 3rd ring, while close will go to the west or east depending on which side is safe from the monitors and place themselves on the edge of the arena. Players with 1 dynamo stack have priority on baiting far world, and we marked those players with 1 and 2. 1 is always going north and 2 is always going south. The remaining 2 players with 1 or 2 stacks will need to bait close world and just eyeball each other and use positions as shown in the graph. After this, Beetle Omega will spawn and will serve as the new north. He'll tether 2 random players with the tethers from phase 1. These need to be picked up and taken away by the 2 players with 3 dynamo stacks. Far World Beta 1 will go to the west of the Beetle, and Beta 2 will go to the east. These betas could change, or they could remain, so whoever is marking be aware of this. But they simply need to be someone with 2 dynamo stacks and nothing else, while the Close World betas also need to be players with 2 dynamo stacks and nothing else. Close World will go south of the Beetle and place themselves at the wall, while Far World will go to the west of the Beetle and place themselves on the 3rd ring. This should solve the mechanic and every player will have 3 stacks of Dynamis. Omega F will then become targetable again and cast 1 final solar ray. After this, Omega F will cast Blind Faith. She needs to be sub 20% or else Blind Faith will wipe the raid. If below 20%, she won't wipe the raid, but you'll need some mitigation to survive the raid-wide damage. Just as a note, make sure that you aren't using DPS LB3 to get past this phase, as you will need it at the start of phase 6. After this, Omega F will transition into phase 6, and that's as far as I'll be taking you in this guide. So stay tuned for the phase 6 guide, but until then, I'll catch you in the next one. So take it easy, stay safe, we out, goodbye.